Alright, time now is 9:30 a.m. on July 1st. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made it halfway through 2023 and we have arrived in round 4. Give it an applause. Woo! Okay. I went to bed at 4:20, unfortunately, again. I don't know why. I didn't even do anything by the end of yesterday. And then I woke up at 7:20 to turn on the fucking aircon. Turn on the aircon because someone turned it off. And then I woke up again at around 9. And then I had to go to bed for a little more for a re-sleep for about 20 minutes. And I didn't immediately fall asleep either, so that's about 4.5 hours, but maybe a bit less. So yeah, I feel like shit, but it's okay because I'm going to a film set. Um, and yeah, it's exciting, honestly, going to a film set at around yeah, about 1.5 hours later, someone's gonna arrive outside of my apartment, pick me up, and drive me to the set. And it's going to be very interesting. I read the script last night while having the sushi, and it's actually very interesting. It's a very Hollywood-esque script, but it's also a really big production. Maybe the biggest production I've ever been on. And by that I mean it's a period piece, and also holy shit, all the special effects. Not CGI, special effects. All the fake blood and dead bodies and all the weird shit that takes place in the script. Now I'm even more interested to be on set to find out how are they going to film this. And reading that script also made me realize that I can only film simple stuff. All my previous short films have always been simple stuff that takes place in modern time, a lot of walking, a lot of talking. Not cutting up corpses and spitting blood and crazy shit like that. So, yeah, this short film is poppin'. So now I really want to be on set to see how are they gonna film it, and hopefully I meet some interesting people. Hopefully, you never know, but yeah. Even though last night I said I don't really care what Leslie thinks anymore, it is kind of an anticlimactic ending. It is kind of anticlimactic. I wish I and Leslie could have one more actual long, deep conversation where we could formally say goodbye to one another. But I guess it's alright because I'll be seeing her again like a month later, like 2 months later, I guess. So it's not the extreme very, very end. Maybe I'll have an emotional monologue at the extreme very, very end. But yeah, it is a little anticlimactic. It's fine, but it is also a little sad in my opinion, just a little bit. And that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it for today. I probably won't have time at all to watch any animes or movies by the end of today. Like by the end of today, it's gonna wrap at around 11 p.m. I arrive back home. It's 12. I feel like I'm just gonna take a shower and immediately go to bed. Probably. Um, I don't know. Um, but yeah, I definitely need to dedicate some time to editing my Japan vlogs and editing videos and all that stuff. Whew. But yeah, yeah. I mean, again, it appears the way she immediately called an Uber after we left the theater. You can tell she just wants to get the fuck out of there. She's not in the mood for having a deep conversation with me, and I don't think she will ever be in the mood in having a deep conversation with me, because deep conversations with me are always very fucking scary. Because I would cry, but that's not true. Because if we talk about love, then of course I would cry because I fucking love her. Fuck. Yeah, I'm a bit sad actually. Seeing her in person, her hair, her eyes. Yeah, a bit sad actually. Fuck. Oh well. That's all the more reasons for me to fight against Kuchio. And yeah, hopefully something interesting happens. Yeah, not much else. Not much else. And I was also thinking, like, before I'm 21, I'm still, like, considered young in American law. I want to do all sorts of crazy ass things with Leslie, like drinking, even though I drink already. But, like, with her, it's like a different story, you know? Fuck. Just, you know what, let's not think about it. Let's not. Also important to note that, I dreamed about Film 33 again, and I saw Leslie, and it was kind of a blur, but something about production sound, and it was Birkin and Benny, and I think I and Leslie had an argument, and they mentioned her, and I said I don't want to work with her, and something along the lines of that. Yeah, this is gonna haunt me, isn't it? Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, I want to let Leslie know how fucking, like, how much of a revenge warpath I'm on right now.
Action, Jim.
胡说八道，不吃药。
Let's do it right now. And then let's get the.
Sound set? Camera set?
Okay, I got it, don't worry. Alright.
Got it. You good?
Go for a take in here? Copy.
Wow.
You want? We have like about. We could bring it in more, or we have another like 2 feet we could pull it. You want to hit it in like this?
It's probably okay, I think, right now. Hold on. Alright, let's go for another one, guys.
Let it go.
Alright, time now is 12:15 after midnight. Just came back home, took a shower, and tried to use a pair of scissors to dig a piece of hair out of my hands. I'm not really sure if it's actually a piece of hair or not. There's a black line and it's hurting, and let's go somewhere brighter. Yeah, I applied some cream on it because I gave up. I'm just gonna let it stay in my hand. So, yeah, okay. So, why is this weird? Is this weird? Alright, there we go. So, yeah, let's talk about today a little bit. Woke up at 9:30. Was really sleepy. I woke up at 9 actually, and then I slept. I went back to bed to 9:20, woke up again, and I actually did the thing. I made my half-year list. Um, yeah, I think never have I ever made a half-year list in such a quick haste. Like in the past few years, I always update my best songs list, but I think I updated my best songs list once in May, and then I just have to update it like last night. So, yeah. Anyways, I filmed it, and then I waited a little bit. Around 11:12 a.m., a woman by the name of Nkechi is outside of my apartment ready to bring me to set. And it's a black woman, and she's nice. And for some reason, I'm in a social mood, so I talked to her a little bit like, how do you find out about the set? You know, are you interested in set stuff, like film stuff? She, albeit older than me, she actually knows less about filmmaking. So she's like, oh yeah, apparently she was on set already yesterday. Yesterday was day one, today was day two. So she's like, oh yeah, I went to set yesterday and I helped to buy some like snack stuff in the snack area. Crafty is the right term. And then today, when she was trying to describe the boom operator, she said, the sound guy, yeah, so clearly I know more. But yeah, you know, we talked a little bit. We went to McDonald's drive-through in Maywood, which is this small town in east side of LA. And I got an apple pie, but she paid for it. I was like, oh, do you have Zelle or anything? She's like, oh, no, it's just an apple pie. And I'm like, okay, thank you. So she drove both of us to set, which is in Maywood. I arrived in it, and it's like a gigantic sound stage, full of different small sets. There's like a courtroom in there, very generic courtroom, very generic bedroom, very generic office, very generic hospital, very generic everything. But it's yeah, it is what it is. And then on the second floor are rooms where you can straight up just dress. And I arrived at this base camp where you get the air conditioning and you get many tables. And oh my god, there are a lot of people in production team. There's the first AD, there's the second AD. The first AD is not the most first AD type first AD I've ever seen. He's always on set and he isn't very commanding. And then we have the second AD, who is this Chinese girl with short pink hair, and she feels like one of those like beauty TikTokers from China. And then apparently we have a second AD who's actually a PA. Then I was asked by one of the producers, an Australian guy, to have a radio. So I got myself one. I asked the second AD, and I've never worked with a fucking radio before, so I was sort of confused. She just gave it to me as if I know how to use it. I don't, and it was super loud, so I managed to learn how to use it, clipped on my shirt and whatever. And so I started being a PA. So I don't think I've ever been just a PA on a set before. It feels really useless because I'm actually at the very, very, very bottom of the hierarchy. But essentially, the Australian guy, Josh, told me to just go around in the base camp and make sure everything's in order. And if someone needs something, they will call you through the radio. So at some point, Tony was like, Enoch, calling for Enoch. And I'm like, oh, it's me? And every time someone speaks, it's extremely loud. It's like I'm about to go deaf. And it's on my right ear. So Tony, the first AD, wanted some drinks, some ice and drinks. So I went up, carried the black box back down, the cooler, and then went back up. Also, the moment I arrived, I saw Jim Lau, the guy who played Old Man in my short film. At first, I looked at him and I'm like, hey, and he said ni hao. And then he took like 2 seconds and he's like, oh, it's you. Hey, how's it going? And did you get into USC? And I explained a lot of stuff to him. I'm like, yeah, I got into USC. And he also mentioned Michelle by name and also her daughter. So everything connected. And I'm like, yeah. And I'm like, yeah, great to see you here. And then I asked him what's his role. And he said, Master Yao, who is one of the major antagonists of the short film. So really interesting. Really, really interesting. Of course, I saw Allegro. And I stuck with him for the most part today, essentially. And then I got a bunch of random miscellaneous works. I have to push a shopping cart outside because Ketchy was told to go to the nearest some sort of store to get a portable air conditioner for upstairs because the set is actually upstairs and it's extremely hot and crowded upstairs. The Australian guy producer, Josh, told me that he preferred that I stay in the base camp because it's too hot and crowded upstairs, and that kind of sucks because I want to be on the set. I want to see. And, again, scripty is like a boring job, but today I realize that being a scripty is actually kind of awesome because you get to be on set all the time, and also you're basically the first person to see the movie because you're beside the monitor all the freaking time. So I really wanted to be on set, so whenever I got the chance, I would like walk past and I would try to take photos. But it looks really good. It's all like, interior because at the end of the day, a Chinese period piece filmed in LA and for cheap has to be all interior. But all the costumes are really well done. All the props are really well done. It looks really great. I'm thoroughly impressed. And it's kind of freaking awesome. This is the first time I've ever been on a period film set, and it looks really cool. And then for a while, I was told to go upstairs to the rooftop of the thing to watch. So on the rooftop, the G&E team, the Grips, set up a couple light stands and two gigantic mirror panels to bounce sunlight off and then shine it through the window into the room where the set is. So I need to be there. Apparently a producer has to be there, and then plus G&E. So I went up there to replace someone else, and essentially the producer Josh was like, okay, stay there for half an hour, make sure you bring some water. So I like packed up. I tried to get a small pack of chips, but I can't find it, so I just grabbed a paper towel. I dumped a bunch of potato chips on it and 3 cookies, and I went up and just sat there and just looked at my phone. I had nothing to do, just in the shade. And then after half an hour, I'm gone. And then for the rest of the day, I think I went to the rooftop at least 4 or 5 more times. And it was extremely hot. I wore a jacket plus a long sleeve shirt, the same shirt I wore yesterday, but it was so damn hot that I had to take off my jacket for the most part. It was really freaking hot and shiny. Luckily, at the end of the day, it became extremely cold, of course. So yeah, again, being a PA, nothing to do, lowest of the low, but I'm not complaining because I feel like at least I still got something to do. But I come up with a very great idea, and you know what it is. BTS photography, because apparently Allegro has a digital camera, a small little digital camera, very lightweight, and it's like not much, and he also has UPM stuff to do. And for him, the UPM stuff he needs to do are essentially just asking people to fill out forms and like finding extras and stuff like that. So not a lot. The UPM I know and I'm familiar with are, scheduling and strategizing things, company moves. But I guess when you have 4 producers, your workload is basically reduced. But still, he's still in the base camp for the most part, and he would be on his laptop, and he would go to set and take some pics from time to time. But for the most part, I listened, I stayed humble, and I should, because a lot of people here are USC students. They're fucking great and super experienced, and the director is a graduate student whose thesis film got picked. Not only that, it's also backed by Sloan, which is this medical organization. It's pretty fucking huge, so I'm actually honored to be on a set like this. I think it's fucking awesome. So, there's that. Now, for a good chunk of time, I also hung out with the 3 cool guys in the grip team that I saw in the crew mixer. Their names are respectively Ryan, Dunn, and Kai. And I had a good chat with them individually, and they all seemed chill, and we hung out. So it's fun that I, a PA, ended up hanging out with the grips. A little bit here and there. We talked about anime, we talked about the basic shit, am I admitted to USC, how's my college, how's my community college, blah 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 blah. And then, yeah. But yeah, for the most part, today's really chill. And then at around 5 p.m., we had lunch. But at that point, I wasn't that hungry anymore because I ate so much popcorn and chips and cookies at the Crafty. I drank a LaCroix and then freaking a water bottle. So I drank a lot of water in my own water bottle as well. But the lunch was actually pretty great. It was this curry, corn, and pea type thing, and then mashed potatoes, and then barbecue chicken. And compared to impeccable taste, and also compared to the first catering service that Ends and Means had, this one's easily the best. So that's great. And then on top of that, it's someone's birthday, another producer's birthday. So there are 4 producers. Turkish guy named Aslan, his girlfriend, who is a Chinese woman by the name of Lilith, and then we have Josh the Australian and Jesse the American white guy. And it's Jesse's birthday tomorrow, and they had a cake coming out. So there's that. So I ate a little cake and it was meh. But that was pretty much it for the most part. I still got to sneak onto set inconspicuously. It's a little more difficult earlier in the day because everyone's still like very much awake, but when everyone's tired, it's way easier to sneak into places or disappear. Like at some point, I went to wait outside with a shopping cart, and when I came back to the base camp, the second AD was like, "你刚, where were you?" So she was gonna ask me something in Chinese like 你刚才在哪儿, which means like, "Where were you just now?" But she thought, "Oh, this guy speaks English." So yeah, it's also kind of awkward because there are so many Chinese people, and every time we speak Mandarin, I can pick up like 90% of it. I can also speak Mandarin, but not so fluently, and I end up speaking English with everyone, and it's just kind of awkward. But yeah, there's that. But at least I got to play with a radio, which I didn't get to in Ends and Means. Somehow in here, a PA gets a radio. And yeah, I guess, yeah, everything went smoothly. I was really dirty and tired, and again, a piece of hair went into my hand, even though it doesn't seem like it because it's super deep into my hand, but it's like a black line, and it's clear that there's like a little bulge, but then I'm not sure because it wasn't there yesterday. But anyways, it's whatever. I guess you always have to leave some scars on your hands from time to time. The piece of graphite here, still there. So yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Tova updated me and said that Andrew is now booked for July 14th. So on July 14th, we will have the interview with Naja and Andrew, which is kind of fantastic. I'm still waiting for an answer for Red. I texted Nick, and Nick is down for an interview, and that's that. And I also texted Gustavo, but he hasn't responded. And that's pretty much it for today. So right now I'm probably gonna eat something real quick, 1 sec, just a salad and a couple sandwiches, edit half-year video, and then I'm gonna directly go to bed because I'm tired as fuck. Maybe I'll watch 3 episodes of Oshinoko, maybe not, I don't know. And yeah, that's it. Given that I saw Leslie and spoke to her in person yesterday, yeah, today I am, I wouldn't say sad. Again, sad would be too generic of a term to describe it. I would say helpless. Mo noi, which is a Cantonese word that does not have an English equivalent, but I guess the closest thing is helpless. There's nothing I can do, and again, it's a shame. I feel shame, and as in like I feel like that it's a shame that we could be together. I remember how when I went to the Friday Film 32 to scout for PAs for the first time, and Leslie saw me, and nobody knew that I and Leslie were like friends at that point. So I asked Leslie a stupid question like, why are you always with your gaff tape? Like, is it part of your body now? And it was sort of like a genuine question, but she took it as a joke, which is also kind of true. It's kind of a half joke. And then she laughed and she said, "Fuck you." And then she started like kicking me. And Jade, the French girl, was like laughing, like, "Do you two know each other?" And Leslie's like, "No, no." Like, that was so fucking nice. And then last night, she literally couldn't say anything to me other than, "How's your day?" and fucking, "Congratulations to getting admitted to USC." And nothing else, because somehow our conversations have boiled down to the very basics. Like, we can't talk about anything else. We can't have a normal conversation anymore. And it's just such a fucking shame because she's such an interesting person to talk to. I think I'm an interesting person to talk to. So yeah, it's kind of a shame, unfortunately. Kind of shame. I don't know. I looked at my poems that I wrote about her again, and they hit pretty hard. They do. They really do. And again, I feel like Leslie kicked me out of her close friends list on Instagram. But then again, Leslie is a matter of the past. I really have to move on. Maybe in Leslie's head, maybe she does think that with time, our relationship will heal and we can be friends again in the future. But honestly, I will be pessimistic, and I'm gonna straight out say that it won't happen. I'm not gonna be friends with her ever again, and after I'm gone from this college, I'll probably never see her or speak to her ever again, and so be it. I mean, I gotta let go. I mean, same thing with Mary. If I can do that to Mary, I can do that to Leslie. Let's be honest here. Even though I put them both on the same pedestals now, I guess, because both Mary and Leslie are girls that I loved and I lost. So yeah, 2-0. Fuck. And again, like, you know, again with Natalie and Cedric's stupid game, Natalie's a 5-0. So 5-5. Like, I fell in love with 5 people, dated all 5. And Cedric's like 3-2. And at some point when we were talking about that, I was 0-0 or 1-0. I was in love with Mary, couldn't date any, and now I'm 2-0. So crushing the numbers, boys, crushing the numbers. Can't wait until I reach 10-0. I think that would be amazing. By the age 50, I'm gonna reach 10-0, and I would have 10 amazing stories to tell. But yeah, fucking. At least you see a pattern. Again, to cheer myself up, I would say that you see a pattern. With JT, right off the bat, she thinks I'm a child, and she thinks I'm a stupid, silly, goofy idiot. And then the second girl I encountered was Pepper, and it started off a little awkward, but it got better and better and better. But like 2 months later, it sort of turned sour. We don't talk. And then it got a little better, and then it turned sour again, and then that's it. But hey, at least we got really close. I went to her apartment, we hung out a lot. And then the next girl, I guess, is in a way Leslie, and truly the first person I fell in love with in the USA. And I feel like we got even closer. We got even more closer. I got to know things that no one else knows about Leslie. And I confessed to her, and she actually said yes. And it's the first time I've ever confessed to a girl. It's a breakthrough, and I'm glad it's on her, you know. I'm glad it's her that I confessed to. And not anyone else. Even though I will never be able to have my first kiss with her or like anything else. Never even get to hold her hand. But you can dare say that we had an indirect kiss when she passed me that vape. And she hugged me. And, you know, I've never been hugged by a girl I love before. And it was a real hearty hug. I feel like even though I and Leslie never had a real relationship, we were friends and then now we're not. That's it. But for 20 minutes, on May 20th, for 20 minutes, I was her boyfriend. Or at least it feels like it. For 20 minutes, it was true. And then it wasn't on the next day immediately. So, but hey, at least I got so damn far. I'm exponentially getting better and better at this. So hopefully the next time I'm even better, and hopefully next time I actually get it. And yeah, hopefully next time a girl confesses to me, which sounds absolutely fucking insane. But again, if Leslie can say yes to my confession, I think at this point anything's possible. So I really want a girl to confess to me. I don't want to do the work. If I fall in love with someone, I'll riz her up so much that she has to confess to me first before I confess to her. So let's hope that happens. And also, what's great about a double-sided confession is that you know it's double-sided. With Leslie, it's totally one-sided. And yes, she said she likes me 80%, and last night she said it's true, or at least it was, but that doesn't mean anything. It could be platonic 80%, you know. So yeah, a double confession would be a lot better, and it's the only way to a healthy relationship, I guess. So yeah, there's that. I guess there's not much I can add. I'm still gonna have to digest moving on from Leslie. The process is still going on, but you know what? I believe in myself. I know I can heal. I know I can move on. And next semester, I'm gonna focus on destroying the fuck out of Kuchio. And there are two types of destruction against Kuchio. The first type is destroying and hurting Kuchio without letting him know that it's me. It's called sabotage. The second type is hurting him and letting him know it's me. It's called chaos. Now, I'm going to sabotage him for the most part, but the last 2 weeks of the semester, or like right before whatever film 33 comes up next, I will start making a name and I'll start being less careful. I'll start telling people that I actually planned all along to fight Kuchio so that someone would snitch on me and tell Kuchio. Or at least make Kuchio suspect that it's me. Because at the end of the day, right the moment before I leave, I want to be suspicious. I want to finally reach my final form and turn into a fucking villain. And most importantly, I want Leslie to know that she broke me and I am fighting a middle-aged Mexican guy because she broke me. And I want her to be afraid. And I think that would be a very beautiful note to end off on with her. And of course, I'm going to have a very emotional monologue when I last see her, and it's going to traumatize the fuck out of her. I hope it does. And then I'll never see her again or talk to her ever again. And I think it's best that it stays that way. So, yeah, I guess that's the plan. Not much else. Alright. Time is 9:24 a.m. Um, on July 2nd. I slept from 3:15 to I think to 8:50. Yeah, and then I went back to sleep, of course. And I was thinking maybe I could go back to sleep for about 10 minutes ish, and that ended up being like half an hour. So that's that. Or not half an hour, but like 20 minutes. So yeah, day two. Actually, day three, but for me, day two of neither donkey nor horse. Um, hopefully, given that I'm bringing my camera today, hopefully it's a little bit more interesting. Um, yeah, hopefully I again meet someone interesting, but I don't think that will happen, honestly. Um, and that's pretty much it for today. Last night, while I was using the bathroom before going to bed, I felt shaking. Um, and I thought it was like some sort of malfunctioning, like maybe like the water pipes. It's just like shaking, connected to the toilet, or maybe it's like fireworks. Because yesterday on set, there were a lot of explosion noises because there's so many people playing around with fireworks. Except it can't be fireworks because I didn't hear any loud bangs, and I was too tired to really investigate what the fuck happened. And then I went to Twitter and I immediately found out that apparently it's an earthquake. So, yeah, last night I experienced an earthquake for the first time in my life, which is hilarious because I didn't even know it was an earthquake until I found out about it on Twitter. But apparently, somewhere in the ocean near Malibu, there's a 4.2 uh, Richter scale earthquake, and yeah, that's pretty interesting. And apparently, even is a bit of an aftershock. That is like 2.0 on the Richter scale. But yeah, that's pretty crazy. Haven't experienced an earthquake before in my life. This is my first time. So that's very interesting. And hilariously, I was awake for it. And then right before bed, I not really FaceTime, like WhatsApp video called my parents a little bit and saw my grandma. And they were like shocked. They're like, oh my God, your face is even worse than before. Like, don't scratch it. And I'm like, no, it's not worse. Like, back in Hong Kong, it's way worse. I feel like it's like way better now. It's not perfect, but like, yeah, it's like not perfect, but like, it's like this is all like in healing. These are all scars. Okay, as far as acne goes, it's only this one. So, yeah. And not much else. And then I slept. And then I had an incredibly terrible dream about Leslie. So I had a dream where I argued with her. I fucking argued with her. I yelled at her and she yelled at me. And they were like an older person, like a mediator, but I don't really know who. Maybe a professor, maybe Crystal. And then at the end, she seems to like me again. Um, and like she got really intimate with me. I think she sat on top of me, or she sat right beside me, and she like used her hands to grab me and like hug me and stuff like that. And I was a little bit confused, so I asked her, so do you love me? And she said no. And I asked her, then do you hate me? And she said yes. And despite that, she's being very intimate with me. So it feels empty, it feels gone. It's the same feeling as someone dying, someone you love dying in front of you, and there's nothing you can do about it. And this dream really fucked me up, and it's really sad. So, there's that. I don't know, and I think it's partially because the 2001 screening felt anticlimactic, but even if I have given like an emotional speech or anything like that, it would still feel unsatisfactory because we had a good thing going and suddenly it all disappeared. Suddenly. Like we back in April and early May, like we could literally talk about anything and it would work. Actually I do low key think that I and Pepper end up being able to talk more than I and Leslie. I think partially because we're both Hong Kongers, but also it's a longer build up. You know, I and Pepper built up from all the way from September to December, and we experienced so much more together. That's very funny. But then somehow my confession to Leslie worked out, and she said yes. But yeah, it's just I don't know, maybe I shouldn't have confessed this early. Maybe I should have waited till next semester without knowing that I will be back next semester. But now I've sort of blown it. Honestly, even if I wait for next semester, it's still too fucking late. Like, because she would have been consumed by her filmmaking completely. So yeah, all the more reasons to fight Crucio, honestly. Yeah. I didn't finish editing the half year video because I almost fell asleep while editing. That's a rare case. I was really fucking sleepy last night. So I'm not gonna film a 2001: A Space Odyssey review today. I will just hopefully finish editing the half-year video and then export it, upload it while eating breakfast, and then in time, and then that's it. Also, last night while I was eating sandwiches right before bed, I felt like a numb pain, like at the very bottom of my mouth, of my jaw, right here. And I immediately thought it's like my wisdom teeth growing, but now the pain is gone, so I don't really know what's going on. But it makes sense. I immediately looked up like wisdom teeth like symptoms, and it all adds up, so I was really scared for a moment.
I think so.
Also, you were like kind of covered in mud and like you can.
That was already
2-1-3.
The carrot.
Yeah. I think the opening is the one that the oldest one that one
the other fixers on ice.
A little bit.
I'm wondering.
Copy that.
Alright, time now is 2:34 a.m. in the morning. I finished my quote-unquote dinner not too long ago, which is cup noodles, bit of bok choy, fish balls. Yeah, Japanese fish balls. So let's talk about today. Today's been slightly interesting. So today's day 3 of Neither Donkey Nor Horse, and it's also my second day on set. Yesterday it took a while for someone to find me a driver to drive me to set. But it is found, and it's this Middle Eastern guy from Qatar named Saud, and he's like really extroverted, really nice guy. But I had to make him wait for like 17 minutes or so. So he said he's gonna pick me up sometime between 10 to 10:15, and I ended up leaving my apartment at around 10, like I don't know, like 10:20, I think, because I woke up and I thought I had enough time to finish editing my half-year list and just leave. Holy shit, I did not. I had to speed run editing that, and then I realized, oh my god, I have the thumbnail. Fuck. So I don't have any water left. I hate this. So I had to immediately edit the thumbnail, and now it looks like shit, but hey, it gets the job done. So I immediately uploaded the video. I didn't even finish writing all the tags for the video, and then I just stormed off. So yeah, essentially there's that. So he drove me to set, and at first I was like, oh, I'm sorry I made you wait. And he's like, no, it's cool, it should be enough time. So at first it's a little awkward. I didn't have much to say to the guy. And then I guess at some point I started talking about like, oh, I'm admitted to USC. Like, he asked me if I'm in USC, and I'm like, oh, I'm admitted. And then I talked about the college that I'm in right now. And he's like, no way, holy shit. I go to that college too, for film, right? And he started saying these names of professors and names of people, and I'm like, oh my god, it's like, he knows them. He mentioned, oh, do you know Sky? Like, Skylar? And I'm like, Skylar last name? And he's like, I don't know her last name, but yeah, Skylar. And I'm like, yeah, she's our first AD in my film class. And then he's like, oh, do you know Ariel? And I'm like, Ariel last name? And he's like, yeah, exactly. And I'm like, you know her? And then he's like, yeah, like we work together, like we're good friends, and like we come up with story ideas and we work together, and I'm like, what? And then apparently, so last night he asked Skylar for PA recommendations, and Skylar recommended NJ. So that's funny. Um, and then he told me about NJ, and I'm like, yeah, I know her. So that's really weird. It's such a crazy coincidence. He said he didn't take film 33 though, so he didn't go through the whole thing. I did it. So, anyways, he dropped me off at Maywood. We went to the same spot again, and then he was gonna order coffee, and at first I'm like, I'm good, and he's like, are you sure? And then after the conversation, I'm like, okay, fine. So I got myself an iced white mocha. But anyways, I went off the Tesla Model S, which is like crazy, like futuristic. And then the moment I got off the car, there's NJ in her sunglasses and with her sound bag. Not sound bag, but with her bag. And he's like, and I'm like, what? It's crazy that she's just here. Like, it's such a crazy coincidence, just infiltrating USC with me. So I'm like, hey, and she wasn't surprised because she saw my name on the call sheet. But she's just a PA. She's not sound PA, just a PA. So we entered it, and I feel a little proud because like the people here, especially Allegro, but also Tony, the first AD, Josh, the producer, like they've seen me before, so they're like, hey, hey, and NJ is like younger than me in this situation. So yeah, that's pretty much it. So for the most part today, we didn't do anything. Like, I don't even need to go to the rooftop to watch the panels because we never set up panels on the rooftop. Today we filmed 2 scenes. Both of them are in this very narrow, claustrophobic, extremely stuffy room with no windows. And it's terrible. And I didn't go upstairs all that much. But it's great to see NJ, Naja. And I spoke with Naja a lot more than with Allegro. And we just, of course, we met and we talked more about ends and means, drama, film 33 drama. And, oh my god, the story fucking continues. So I guess it's the first time in round 4 where I run into a film 33 character, I guess. And it's only the second day. It's crazy. And Ariel was gonna come today, but apparently she's busy, so maybe not. But it's just crazy complicated. So I and Naja talked for the most part today. She told me, so she talked a little bit more about the shoot she did with the scriptwriting professor, with Dominic, Nick, and Tyler, and Yulia. And then she talked about how during that shoot, Leslie texted her at some point and asked her to help out with the July 6th shoot. So Naja asked me, do you know about the July 6th shoot? And I'm like, what? No. And she told me about how Leslie texted her, and I'm like, fuck. And again, with the dream I had this morning, and also with 2001 A Space Odyssey like 2 nights ago, I'm pretty like sad. So like seeing Leslie mentioned again, still seeing the people around me affected by Leslie, it's like, oh my gosh, she's like a curse. I just can't escape her. But Naja continued to tell me. So I literally looked at Naja's conversation with Leslie, like the DMs. Like, not really DMs, just text. And Leslie is like, hey, exclamation mark. So Dominic gave me your number. And are you willing to help out with this shoot on July 6th? Exclamation mark. And Naja was like, yeah. And she's like, thank you, with multiple U's. Holy shit. And I'm reading this and I'm like, there's no way Like, there's no way Leslie enjoyed typing all this shit. This is Leslie in nice girl mode, and it's like it's your average Californian texting culture, and like she never does that with me because she knows I don't subscribe to that bullshit. Like, I remember how like the first time I texted Cliff, I also do the same. I use exclamation marks and everything. Um, but yeah. Um, holy shit! But apparently there's a secret July 6th shoot, and the thing is, it's a 1 day shoot, and the other thing is, Naja knows nothing. She doesn't know who's the director. She only knows that Leslie's asking for her, and Leslie will be on set, and also Dominic will be on set. So apparently Leslie also asked Dominic, and Dominic said yes. And Dominic told Naja that it is preferred that other people from the same college would not know about this shoot for some weird reason. Like people like Tyler. For some reason, it is implied that Leslie doesn't want Tyler to know. And then apparently the Indian professor would be the DP. And that's really weird. And again, Naja didn't receive any script. She didn't receive any context. It's very mysterious and it's all kept under wraps. And then she showed me like an email that's sent to her to fill in some Google Forms and whatever. And it is sent by none other than Mexican girl Alba. And she doesn't know who Alba is. Of course I know. I'm the fucking detective. Come on. And it's really weird. And Alba, this isn't like Alba's short film. This is like, Alba's just like a producer or like a first AD or something. I don't know. And it's called REM, like REM. So the whole thing is just really fucking weird. So we'll see how that goes. See, at that point, again, I'm like, wow, fuck. Of course, like, behind me, Leslie's doing all these things, and I'm only knowing things through other people, which is great. It just goes to show how many connections I have. So even though I don't talk to Leslie anymore, at least I will know everything about her through other people's mouths, and I think that's like amazing. But yeah, again, I don't care, or at least I try my best not to care about Leslie anymore. But that's really interesting. And apparently Yulia also has a short film shoot coming at late July. And then I told Tova about this like immediately. Maybe I shouldn't have, but I trust Tova. And Tova asked me if it's Andrew's shoot, and I'm like, what, Andrew has a shoot too? What the fuck? Everyone has shoots now. That's like, what? So yeah, it's kind of all over the place. It's kind of crazy. But yeah, essentially there's that. But aside from that, there aren't really a lot of new news. Naja just talked a lot about ends and means. I spent a good chunk of the day not really doing much. Really eating crafty, moving some ice and ice drinks around, taking BTS photos from time to time. Yeah, I've been planning to like maybe write emails to USC, figure out the whole copyright thing. But I never did those things. I spent a good chunk of time like trying to find Chinese translations for every film production role. It's funny. And then there's lunch, which is marinara sauce, ground chicken, penne pasta with Hawaiian bread, which is this tiny cube of sweet, soft bread, plus boiled carrots, plus a box of salad. It was okay. It wasn't as good as yesterday, but it's still like leagues better than whatever I have. Also, I have this gigantic migraine in the back of my head at the very right side right now, and that's very fucking bad. And then after lunch, I and Naja for a good chunk of time stayed upstairs to make sure everyone like gets drinks and just a PA standby upstairs. But she did nothing, and then she came back down after for lunch, and then after lunch we just talked for like 2 hours or something, just in the base camp, and we just talked about Film 33 and all the drama. Saud, the guy from Qatar, asked me how's Film 33, and I want to be honest. I don't want to lie. I don't like lying, but also I don't want to go into detail, so I just said, oh, it's interesting. Has ups and downs. And Naja was like, "Oh, interesting is a good way to put it. Like, oh, it's one way to put it." But I and Naja talked about ends and means, and we talked about like Birkin and Liana and Zach with Sitlali and all that stuff, and how Drew was like giving her attitude because Drew didn't give her like lav mics for some of the drills, and then like Leslie and Drew knowing nothing about like UXD cables, and then she started talking about like film gear, like the F9, the F10, the Zoom Helium 6, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And it just makes you realize how every department in film production has its own little rabbit hole. Just now I was like DMing Cliff, and he talked about like gaffing and how like every single object, like every face, like a human face, their facial structure, their eyes, you have different ways to light literally everything and to create different effects. It's so complicated. It like filmmaking can be so trivial and detailed and complicated. It's like it's crazy. So yeah, it's amazing. And I talked to Cliff about like lenses as well. I finally found out what lenses they're using. It's not Zeiss Super Speeds. It's actually Sigma T1.5 full frames. And yeah, not the most fancy looking lenses, but it does its job. But yeah, I did see the fake corpse today, which was pretty wild. It's the first time on set I've ever seen like gory prosthetic makeup, so or like props, so that's really interesting. Just shout out to the art department. Holy shit, like even like after today I start to really think, what if I don't do scripty stuff and I start like trying out art department stuff? Like that seems fun as hell. But then at the same time I also like camera and lens stuff, like technical stuff, so I don't really know. And then yeah, I think that's pretty much it. So Sao drove me home and arrived home, took a shower. I edited a college video. Now I'm done. I plan to watch Oshinoko. I also plan to like eat steak and like the leftover carne asada steak and the fucking the tortellini. But I realized I already ate pasta, so yeah. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm really tired. I'm just gonna directly go to sleep, like right now. Um, and Naja won't go tomorrow, but she will go on like July 8th, 9th, and 10th. So hopefully that's that. Um, yeah, and again, I'm still waiting for a response from Gustavo and Red. Gustavo DM'd me on Instagram today, but he's not reading his Discord. Same for Red. So I really hope that they do read it because I really need their response for their interview times. But I am still doing the interviews. I'm still making a. It's still gonna be super fucking interesting. My revenge plot against Kuchio. But yeah. Holy shit. Tomorrow I'm gonna do a 2001: Space Odyssey review in the morning, and then I'll just go off on day 3. Yeah. And yeah, maybe I should like bring a manga book or something so that I can read on set. I don't know. But tomorrow the location is going to be a little different. It's going to be in Beverly Hills, which means it's going to be closer to home, which means that I can come home a little earlier so that I can maybe I don't know, eat some food and finally watch 3 episodes of Oshinoko or something like that. I don't know. Oh, I guess I forgot to mention that there's like a stray cat, and the stray cat's has like 5 kids, and it's hidden in a small little hole on the gigantic soundstage in the ideal sets. And I took a photo of the cats and posted it on Instagram thinking, ooh, it would be interesting if Leslie sees it. And she does see it, and she did like it, so that was pretty nice. But again, fuck off. I don't want to care about her anymore. Again, I think about like how well she treated me before, and not even in a fakey way, like the same way she treated NJ in the text, like exclamation mark, yay, thank you, with multiple U's. That's not the real Leslie. Like she probably hated typing that shit. And when Leslie texted me back in like April and like early May, it was genuinely her. It was really like genuinely her, and it was like really good, and that was like peak. And it just sucks. And now her attitude is so bad. And I remember like people telling me that, like, or people just telling in general that like good attitudes on set is really important. Yeah, while Leslie's really like knowledgeable on gear, her attitude fucking sucks. People don't want to work with her. So yeah, or at least her attitude under like in deep inside her really sucks. Maybe on the surface it's fine, but yeah. I mean, after all, she's like an extrovert, but you can be mean and extroverted. You can be nice and introverted. So, damn. I don't know. I don't want to think of her. I don't want to think about her. I don't know. It just sucks to me that like she has nothing to say to me. Like, congratulations to your admittance to USC. Like, fuck you. You just have nothing better to say to me. Like, if we could just both get drunk and just start like being really honest with each other, at least I hope she would be honest with me. I can be honest with her anytime. Then like, okay, sure. And I can literally talk to her about so many different things. Like I and Naja's conversation went on for like hours today, and it was like we could go on because we all also ended up talking about movies and like Wes Anderson and Martin Scorsese and like Kubrick. And like we just talked about like the Oscars, and I could go on the same with Leslie, and it could be even more interesting. But no, how is life? Blah blah blah.